The year is 52 BC. And for 6 years Julius Caesar has campaigned in Gaul, cementing Roman rule through conquest and diplomacy. Following Caesar's defeat at Gergovia, the Arverni and other Gallic tribes gained confidence following their victory over the Romans and the destruction of Rome's 14th legion in an ambush laid by the Gauls. With the news of this Gallic victory, dissent began to spread throughout Gaul, leading to an uprising led by the Gallic general Vercingetorix. After a series of battles across Gaul, Caesar has pinned down the Arverni and Gallic tribes in a fortified village known as Alesia. Under Caesar's orders, the Romans have built 2 walls of fortification. One to blockade the city of Alesia, and another to defend against Gallic reinforcements that are soon to arrive. It was estimated by Caesar himself that the Gallic and Arverni tribes numbered some 250,000 men, while Caesar commanded a much smaller force of 60,000 men. Upon the Romans' construction of the fortifications, Vercingetorix had sent word out to other Gallic tribes nearby for aid, including Vercingetorix's cousin Vercingetorix. In the meantime, Vercingetorix and his forces are fully surrounded by the Romans. With their supply lines being cut off, they must now sit and wait until reinforcements arrive before they can have any hope of defeating the Romans in their fortified position. Caesar knows that Alesia will soon expect large numbers of Gallic reinforcements. Caesar must now prepare his men to face an attack on 2 fronts, a difficult task, even for a military tactician such as Julius Caesar. If the Romans are defeated at Alesia, it would mean the end of Roman rule in Gaul and the annihilation of Caesar's army. At early dawn, on September 52 BC, the Gallic reinforcements had arrived. Skirmishers and Gallic cavalry led the lines in the oncoming assaults. Gallic cavalry were known to be superior to that of the Roman cavalry. However, Caesar had auxiliary and mercenary cavalry from Germania, whom were known to be the best cavalry in the region at the time. Caesar sent out his auxiliary cavalry and Germanic elite cavalry to repel the Gallic skirmishers and cavalry. The Germanic cavalry quickly outflanked the Gallics and charged down the Gallic skirmishers. The Gallic tribes were unprepared for the swiftness and superiority of Caesar's Germanic cavalry, and were soon outmaneuvered and sent retreating back to the main Gallic force. By midday, the full force of the tribes of Gaul marched on Alesia. Caesar had to stretch his lines out thinly to cover the entirety of the fortified barricades which separated his army from being fully surrounded. The Romans began firing ballista and arrow fire on the oncoming tribes, hoping to slow their advances. The main Gallic force was commanded by Vercingetorix, Vercingetorix's cousin. Vercingetorix focused the majority of his force on a long section of the Roman fortifications, hoping to break through with sheer force and numerical advantage. Arrows and pylons rained down on the Gauls as they approached the fortification. The Gallic tribes managing to breach the fortifications at multiple points begin to engage with the Roman legionaries. Brutal hand-to-hand combat ensues, thus favoring the Romans, as the Roman legions were better trained, more disciplined and were better equipped than the Gallic soldiers. The Roman soldiers fought with a large shield to protect the majority of their bodies while they were able to stab and slash with a short and very sharp blade called the gladius. The Romans also fought as a unit, as opposed to individuals like the Gauls, while simultaneously rotating their ranks to keep each Roman soldier fresh while fighting. More Gallic tribes begin to attack from different directions, forcing the Romans to spread their forces. Caesar rides through his ranks, organizing and moving his legionnaires to wherever there were any weak points. The Gallic skirmishers pepper the Roman soldiers from afar. Meanwhile, at the main engagement led by Vercingetorix's force, the Romans are being pushed hard, with some of the Gallics managing to force themselves into the inner fortifications. This section of the wall was commanded by the young Mark Antony, one of Caesar's trusted commanders at the time. Caesar orders his Germanic cavalry to charge at any of the breaching points, where the Gallics were pushing through. The cavalry charges having some initial success with holding back the breaches. Caesar continues to ride through his ranks, moving his soldiers to different points where needed, while offering morale support wherever he can. Auxiliary cavalry continue to charge any breaching points, ensuring the Gallics don't break through and overwhelm the legionnaires. As the battle continues, both sides begin to amass casualties, giving the advantage to the Gallics with their superior numbers. Mark Antony and his personal guard charge into the battle lines, aiding the legionnaires to push back Vercingetorix's overwhelming force. Vercingetorix finally realizes that the Roman force is fully stretched and orders his forces to march from the city of Alesia, and attack the inner Roman fortifications. Noticing the attack from the inner fortifications, Caesar reacts by gathering any available soldiers he can muster to defend the inner walls. Vercingetorix's forces now begin assaulting the inner walls, while simultaneously the Gallic forces attack the outer walls, forcing the Romans to fight on both fronts. The Romans are now fully surrounded, and if they cannot maneuver out of this situation, their army will soon crumble. Even as their lines begin to thin, the Romans continue on fighting, valiantly and bravely, against the odds. The Gauls finally breach the Romans' defences, leading Caesar to rally as many men as can be spared to support the main breaches. As the situation worsens for the Romans, Caesar, in a last-ditch effort to salvage the battle and his army, gathers all of his Germanic auxiliary cavalry, and charges them outside of the fortifications and into the rears and flanks of the engaged Gallic soldiers. This maneuver by Caesar works to perfection, causing the main Gallic line to break in fear of the massive cavalry charge. The Gauls were not aware that they were winning the battle, and that this maneuver was a desperate last-ditch effort by Caesar and the Romans to try and break the Gauls' morale and spirit. The sight of seeing the main Gallic force fleeing causes panic throughout the rest of the Gallic army, and a mass retreat begins, leaving Vercingetorix and his army left to fight the Romans by themselves, eventually being pushed back into the city of Alesia, and then soon after surrendering. The sources for the losses on both sides are fully unknown. Though it was estimated by Caesar himself that he had lost up to 12,000 Roman soldiers, while the Gauls had lost up to 200,000 men, though these estimates cannot be confirmed as truly accurate, as Caesar may have been biased in his report. Upon the defeat of the Gauls, Vercingetorix had surrendered himself to Caesar, in exchange for the life of his men. Caesar accepted his request and Vercingetorix was sent to Rome as a prisoner. Mark Antony had proven himself to Caesar during the battle and became Caesar's right-hand man from that point up until Caesar's death in 44 BC. This video was created and edited by Total War Battles. The music used in this video is from Faria Fargi, his channel is linked in the description, and David Chase, his channel is linked in the description. This video was made using Total War, Rome 2. The mods used are in the description. If you want to help support the channel, then become a channel member, the link is in the description. Subscribe for more and thank you for watching.